Here we, here we are on Facebook Live, here with Ms. Ramos from BMO Harris Bank. This afternoon, we are going to discuss protecting your identity. Ms. Ramos, can you please introduce yourself again and let's get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shahida Ramos Torres. I am from BMO Harris Bank, and I'm here to talk to you today about identity theft and ways to protect yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and turn off my video so it's easier to present. So let's take a look at the agenda and learn some of the topics that we're going to cover around identity theft. So in our workshop today, we're going to learn how to identify the signs of identity theft and fraud. We're going to examine different types of identity theft and fraud. We're going to identify strategies to protect ourselves from identity theft and fraud, and we're going to learn how to protect our data using safe habits. As you know, your identity is a valuable piece of information, and identity theft and fraud are fast-growing crimes. Some people may think that identity theft is what happens when someone steals your credit card or your debit card. Actually, identity theft is much broader. It can involve someone impersonating you, using your personal information to open bank accounts, withdrawing money from your accounts, or even taking out loans in your name. So who has ever been a victim I'm sure either you've been a victim or you know of someone who's been a victim of identity theft and someone who has been victimized. Do you and are you aware of the consequences they faced? Let's find out what some of those consequences are and some of the things that have happened to people. So first, how much do we know about identity theft? There's a victim of identity theft every 2 seconds. Do we think that's true or false? Also, you're more likely to have your identity stolen than your car stolen or burglarized. Both of these facts are actually true. Identity theft is more common than most of us think. Today, we're going to learn more about theft in the workshop, along with some ways we can protect ourselves from this growing issue. To better understand how we put ourselves at risk, let's examine the differences between the 2 types of crimes. So identity theft and fraud are terms used to refer to all types of crime in which someone wrongfully obtains your information or your data in some way. Identity fraud occurs when someone uses your personal information to access money, while identity theft is when personal information is accessed, even if it wasn't used for financial gain. So one is considered, which identity theft, again, it's fraud when someone's gaining access to your money, and identity theft is just when they've taken your personal information, not necessarily taken your money. Identity fraud and theft can happen to anyone, but some people may be more at risk to others. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, men and women are equal targets of identity theft. Adults over the age of 60 are at an increased risk for identity theft as well. And then households with an annual income of $75,000 or higher are at greater risk for identity theft. When someone steals your identity to impersonate you or to open new accounts, to take out loans, to rack up debt, you're able and you can have the potential of suffering long-lasting consequences. These are statements that were collected by a survey from Identity Theft Center, which asked victims of identity theft about their consequences that they faced in their daily lives. So if you take a look at some of these responses, you can see someone lost out on a job opportunity. Someone else wasn't able to qualify for a home loan, or they had to use their savings to pay for expenses. They had to rely on family and friends for assistance. Identity theft can cost you time, money, and reputation. Once your identity is stolen, depending on how many accounts and services you have, you'll need to contact each bank. You'll have to change passwords and then notify all your credit card companies. This process can take you one day, can take you a few days. It may even take you a few years, just depending on how complex the identity theft was. Once an identity thief has your personal information, what can they do with it? Let's find out. So once someone has taken and stolen your personal information, these are several ways that they're able to use your identity. They may be able to access and make transactions on your existing accounts. The thief may use the card or account itself to make purchases and rack up debt in your name. In cases of identity theft, thieves may commit fraud by using your personal information to engage in criminal activity. They may, for example, present your identity as their own to the police if they're caught doing something illegal, or they can use it to commit cybercrime. If you're medical, yes, medical ID identification can also be stolen, and we'll talk about that. Thieves may use it to get prescriptions. They can use your medical identity to go and go on medical visits. They may receive expensive treatments in your name. So this type of theft has a financial cost, but it can also affect your medical history. So these are just some ways that identity thieves can use to steal your identity. Let's take a look at what can happen in order to accomplish this. So when identities look to steal your information and your identity, the first thing they need to do is find your personally identifiable information, or PII. Personal identifying information is anything that can be used to distinguish or identify you. Identifying information can fall into 4 categories: biographical data, your biometric data, your medical data, and your financial data. All these forms are the basis of personal identifiable information. Many people don't realize how much of their information is actually out there. Identity thieves can impersonate you just by knowing your name or address, or they can gain access to your credit cards or banking accounts using more sophisticated tools. Depending on the types of information you share on social media, they can even guess your passwords or security or answers to some of your security questions. Facebook, guys, Facebook, Instagram. That's what thieves are looking at nowadays. So there's also many different kinds of personal information that thieves can use to steal your identity. Information such as your social security number, your driver's license, your passport, your password, credit report, your marriage records, your divorce records, tax documents, your bank account information, and email accounts can all be misused. How do you identify thieves? How do thieves identify and get a hold of your PII? We're going to take a look at some methods that they use to take this information. The first one is theft, right? So you may think it always, and we always think, oh, online, I'm a victim of identity theft. There's so many other ways that thieves use to steal your identity. The most common non-technological methods they use are theft, dumpster diving, shoulder surfing, mail fraud, and skimming devices. Many times these thieves use personal theft to steal your identity. They may steal your purse or your wallet from you and then use the information in your wallet to steal your identity. Hopefully you're not going to be a victim of theft, but if you are, it's important to keep in mind that some precautions in case your personal property is stolen. So make sure that you're not keeping your PIN numbers in your wallet or other passwords that a thief is able to access and get into your accounts. Make sure you don't carry your social security card in your wallet, and only carry checks when you need them. You would think that most identity theft comes from personal theft, but can also come from dumpster diving. So dumpster diving is when someone goes through your trash or recycle, looking for any bills that you might have thrown out, any pre-approved credit offers, or documents that contain personal identifiable information about you. To discourage dumpster diving, make sure that you completely shred any sensitive documents before tossing them in the garbage. Choose a cross-cut shredder over a strip cut one because it makes it more difficult for thieves to put the pieces back together. Shoulder surfing is when a thief peeks over your shoulder and records you entering sensitive information, such as you're at an ATM and you're putting in your PIN number, or you're logging into one of your accounts and they're seeing you log in and use your password or your PIN. So always be aware of your surroundings and cover your phone screen or ATM keypad when you're entering in such information. Identity theft also occurs via mail, and this is when thieves actually steal your mail out of your mailbox. Another way thieves steal your mail is by rerouting it. So once a thief knows your address, changing it is as easy as logging into the Postal Service website, filling out an online form. Once the mail is redirected to an address by a thief, they can sort out your mail by looking through and finding valuable information. They can also steal your information by using more low-tech scenarios, like going through your mail, opening your bills, even your discarded bills. They can access your name, your address, your medical information, or your tax information. So it's important to keep or properly destroy any mail that contains this information by making sure that you're shredding them. Another method that they use is called skimming. Skimming occurs when a thief installs an illegal device known as a skimmer into gas station pumps, ATMs, or credit card machines that captures your data. So when you're swiping your card into a skimmer, the device collects all your information. So to avoid having your card skimmed, make sure that you look at the device that you're going to swipe your card on and make sure that there's no skimmer on there. And also cover your PIN pad when putting security codes at the ATM. Try to maintain possession of your card and keep it in sight at all times. So a good method is if you're going to the ATM and they have a lot of the cards now, your debit cards have tap to pay, or you're at a store, tap to pay. That's a great method to pay because you're not actually inserting your card. So it won't help a skimmer. It won't help you if you're putting in your card and there's a skimming device. If you're tapping and there's a skimming device, it won't gather that information. I like to use the tap to pay all the time. Identity thieves can use many methods and techniques to steal your identity, but in general, common scams include phishing, telephone scams, and elder fraud scams. More sophisticated identity thieves may use technological methods to access your data. The most common method known is phishing. Some of you may have received actually a phishing email. So phishing is an email that appears to be a form from your bank, but actually isn't. Phishing occurs when a scammer uses fraudulent emails or texts or copycat websites to get you to share your valuable personal information. The scammer may include requests from people pretending to be a friend or a family member who needs financial help. Phishing scams include emails where thieves will often send out fake emails impersonating a company that you do business with, such as your bank or your credit card company, or they will reach out through mail to pretend that they are protecting you from a virus or a malware allegedly detected on your computer. Telephone scams occur in various ways, whether a telemarketer is calling you with a special offer, to people impersonating government officials, banks, or credit card companies. And then elderly fraud scams occur when someone is getting information or calling you saying they're a Medicare healthcare provider. They're calling you from a funeral or a cemetery scam, or they're requesting information from power of attorney scams and more. So now that we know how thieves can gain access to the data, let's look at some of these scams. Remember, these are just some of the most common scams that are out there. There's many more. So if you take a look at this phishing email, it's a scam where a thief again pretends to be a legitimate company and tries to collect your personal information. Whenever you receive an email or a text message asking you to click on the link to reset your password, update your credit card information, or enter your social security number or other personal information, there's a few steps you can do to make sure that the email is authentic. So in case of emails, make sure that you're checking the email address it was sent from. Does it match the email address used by the company or it's supposedly from? So look for subtle differences in the spelling, email address providers, or individual names. For example, if it's from a bank, make sure that the email address says something like John Doe at BMO Bank, for example, and not John Doe at BMO Bank. Check the language used in the greeting. How is it addressed to you? Is it an email from a trusted financial institution that's addressing you by your name, or is it more simple and generic, like dear customer? Check the language of the rest of the message as well. Is the language what you would expect from the sender, or is it overly formal? Is it threatening? Is it too general? Is the message itself written poorly? Are there spelling errors and mistakes? So if you look at this one, you can see already from National Bank, John Smith at nationalbank.com, it's missing the I in National Bank. And then again, in this email, the generic greeting, dear customer, it's not addressing by your name. Also, there's unprofessional language used in this email. And then it's giving you a fake login page and asking you to confirm your identity. Make sure that you check before you click to open any attachment or before you click any links. Ask yourself if you're expecting any attachments from the sender, and examine the link name to ensure you're not clicking on any malware. If there's any doubt about the email, don't open the attachment. And if you do have a doubt, make sure you're reaching out to your bank and ask them directly if we, have sent you an email.
Yamir, I found I had an email where it was a dollar amount that they had on there, and they had the dollar sign at the end, like $5,000, and then the dollar sign was at the zero, at the end of the zero. So that let me know, that was a scam as well.
And a lot of banks also aren't gonna, we have your information, so we have your account number, we, have your social in our system. So those are not questions that we're gonna ask you to identify, and we're not gonna send you an email with the link asking you to put all that information in. There's other ways we're gonna verify you. So when in doubt, always reach out to the company just to see and verify that they've sent you information. Here's another phishing email. This one is from supposedly Yahoo, and it's asking them to change their password. But if you can see here, the Yahoo's misspelled. There's grammatical errors. The link address has an extra O in it as well. When it comes to phone scams, many scammers also call you on the phone to commit fraud that way and try to scam you. Take a look at this one. It's hello, Mrs. James. You're the lucky winner of $1 million lottery. Congratulations. All you need to do is verify your social security number and provide us with details of your bank account so we can send you the money. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but if you act now, we should be able to waive all the taxes on the amount. I have all the paperwork with me. Let's start with your social security number. You know, what if you've never even played the lottery? How are you gonna, know that you're a winner? So just keep that in mind. In these scenarios, scammers will call up a victim and try to collect personal information by using a pretext, like telling you, write a story. In this case, you've won the lottery. Make sure you listen for content. Do they talk about winning the lottery or sweepstakes that you've never entered? Are they asking you to buy something to increase your chances? Or are they offering something that's too good to be true? And these types of calls, the scammers want to make sure they're getting your credit card information or other financial information as quickly as possible. Listen also for urgency. Are they pressuring you to make a decision now or to act fast? In this case, act fast. Do they, are they asking you, that they're going to waive fees, waive shipping fees, or in this case, they're waiving the taxes on the amount that you won if you act now. So these are comments that could be a sign of a scam. So listen to what they're asking for, and asking you to wire transfer information in some way is, fraud. We see a lot of also checks getting sent in the mail too, and asking you to buy a certain number of gift cards with this check, keep the difference and send us gift cards. So just keep in mind when you're receiving also checks in the mail for things, no one's really gonna just give you anything for free and want, say, here's free money, you just need to do X for me. So just keep that in mind, especially if you don't know the person as well. And then these are some other phone scams. Hi, I'm friends with your nephew. He's in trouble with the law and needs your help. He got arrested last night and now is in jail. He needs bail money before he can be released. It's a long story, but he asked me to call you instead of his parents because he's too embarrassed about what happened. He needs you to wire money in the next hour from Western Union. It's important that you send this money right away. This is something that happens a lot to the elder. Most phone scammers, they're strangers and don't know the victim. But they're able to look up information, again, looking up Instagram or looking up information on your Facebook and pretend to be a third party and claim that they know this person for you to go ahead and even send the money. So in this case, tell them to hold on and then just verify, that you can get a hold of the other person when things like this are happening, or just tell them to call you back and you want to make sure that you're verifying. What are the times? Why would they not reach out and call you themselves? So just keep that in mind when it comes to phone scams. They're, again, always used on senior citizens, more common. We're going to see other ways that senior citizens are targeted. People should be aware that their elderly friends and relatives may become victims of this next scam. So many seniors may own assets like a house or a car. They have retirement funds like a 401k, or they're receiving other benefits that can make them attractive targets for identity theft. An identity thief may be a stranger who tries to befriend a senior, a professional who may have access to the senior's home, or even a friend or family member. One of the more common ways in which thieves target seniors is by abusing power of attorney. So if you're a senior or a caretaker of a senior, be aware of anyone asking for your power of attorney. Seniors may need increasing help with their everyday finances, including household and medical finances. They may need and may grant a family member or a close friend as a power of attorney. An individual who is granted power of attorney is legally bound to act in the senior's best interest, but sometimes they do not. So let's take a look at the scenario and see any red flags. So at 87, Mr. Ali lives alone in his house. His wife passed away 10 years ago and his children live in a different state. He recently met a young man called Samir, who said he was Mr. Ali's long-lost nephew. Samir quickly moved into Mr. Ali's house and helped him with his chores. Mr. Ali was so grateful that he agreed to give Samir power of attorney so that he could manage the household finances. So these are some red flags in Mr. Ali's story. To start, Mr. Ali never met Samir, despite the fact that Samir said he was his long-lost nephew. And then Mr. Ali never asked Samir to give him proof that that was his nephew. The fact that Samir moved into Mr. Ali's house so quickly is also questionable. When Mr. Ali gives Samir power of attorney, he is essentially giving away his financial rights. So just keep in mind that. And then here's another example. Mrs. Garcia was 78 years old when she gave her niece Angela power of attorney. Recently, Mrs. Garcia has become quiet and sad. She doesn't leave the house for her daily walk anymore. Her neighbors noticed that Angela bought an expensive new car and claimed it was for her aunt. Angela is also making plans to remodel and expand the guest bedroom and plans to move in. Since it's her aunt's house, she intends to use her aunt's funds to pay for expenses. When Angela isn't around, Mrs. Garcia complains that some of her things are missing. So some suspicious details of this example and this scenario is Mrs. Garcia's change in behavior, right? So she's now feeling quiet and she's sad. She doesn't go out anymore. You've noticed that Angela's purchased an expensive car. Mrs. Garcia is complaining about missing valuables. And then Angela plans to spend her aunt's money on expensive home remodels. So just take a look at suspicious, activity. In other words, these are things that normally Mrs. Garcia didn't do before, and now that this new person has come into her life or has come around, all these changes are being made. So those are some signs of being scammed. To make sure you know how to spot a scam is an important skill. You can find out more details about scams and red flags by visiting identitytheft.gov. This information is also available in their participant guide. Children nowadays are also a growing target population among identity thieves. Children's personal information like their names, the address, social security number may be used by thieves to open accounts, apply for credit cards, or apply for social security benefits. How do thieves get this information? So they access identification from the children in the same way that they do for adults, through documents that are discarded, through online scams, phone scams, stolen property. Also, family and friends take advantage of the child's identity and then put their information at risk. If you receive a call regarding unpaid taxes or unpaid bills in your children's name, or you are turned down when applying for government benefits for your child, it could be a sign that the child's identity has been stolen. You're able to request a free credit report by going to annualcreditreport.com in your child's name to see what may come up. If your child is older, they're able to do so on their own. Also ask yourself and be careful about entities that you share your children's information with. So schools, colleges, they're able to collect information about your child and they're legally obligated to protect it. Still, parents should make sure they take the initiative and find out the school's policy on disclosing private information. Medical theft identity occurs when a thief uses your medical identity to access your healthcare, your prescription information, or to claim insurance benefits. Thieves often retrieve this information from, again, dumpster diving, looking for discarded bills and medical records. They also access during data breaches or hacks of medical offices or hospitals. If you receive a medical bill for treatment that you didn't receive, an insurance claim on conditions that you don't have, or a debt collection for an unpaid medical bill that you aren't responsible or aware of, it may be a sign that a thief is using your medical identity. This theft can be harmful because your medical history can become entwined with that of the thieves, increasing the risk of being misdiagnosed or denial of service or insurance. So find out how your doctor, hospital, or medical care center is discarding your sensitive information. When it comes to tax identity theft, once thieves have access to your social security number, they can file a return using your identity. You receive a notice from the IRS or your tax preparer about multiple tax filings, or if there's a suspicious detail in your IRS records around employment or earning history, could be a sign that a thief may be committing tax fraud. So make sure you're reaching out to the IRS and contact them for more information. So these are some red flags of identity theft. How to protect yourself and your loved ones. So when you're seeing red flags of identity theft, some of the signs you're getting denied. You may be trying to apply for credit and getting denied. Maybe you're trying to apply for a utility service or a phone service, but getting denied. That could be a sign of identity theft. If you're seeing unusual activity or unusual charges on your credit cards, your financial statements, if there's unusual changes in your credit report and credit scores, unusual calls from collection agencies for debts that you don't owe, unusual bills for services or products that you haven't used, or an unusual increase in insurance or insurance rates, it could be your, a sign of identity theft, or you're a victim of identity theft. IRS reports, so indicating that more than one person has filed a tax return using your social, or an IRS report indicating wages received from unknown sources. These are also signs. Lost items, lost mail, lost bills, medical, again, incorrect medical bills, incorrect medical history information. Knowing the signs of identity theft and how it affects a loved one can make sure you set the foundation for taking steps toward protecting and preventing it. These are some do's and don'ts on how you can protect yourself. So make sure you're monitoring your credit score, credit reports, and you're monitoring all your accounts. Make sure you're monitoring your financial statements. So take a look at your online banking. Make sure that you're checking your bank statements every month. Practice online safety. So when you're going into a Starbucks, for example, and you're logging in through your cell phone, make sure the Wi-Fi is turned off. So that way they can't hack into your information when you're in an unsecured site. Secure important documents. Be aware of your surroundings. Again, don't use public Wi-Fi. So get in a habit. Something I do when I leave for the days, I just make sure that my Wi-Fi is turned off before I leave the house on my both my work phone and my personal phone, so that way no one else has access to sensitive information. Make sure you don't click on unknown links, and make sure you're not opening suspicious attachments when emails are being sent to you. There's many different ways that you can protect yourself against identity theft. here's also some services that you can use. If you feel that you need to do more or could use help with protection, commercial monitoring services are available. With this, they're able to keep a close watch on your credit, and then they're able to send you updates, alerts on credit report changes. These services allow you to recognize problems and take action in a timely manner. They do charge fees for these services, but you can also use Credit Karma. That's also a great source to use, because you are identified when someone, you receive a new credit card or you applied for something on your credit, you do get notification. So that's something you can use as well. Identity monitoring services. So these can fill the gaps that credit monitoring services may miss. Identity monitoring services can alert you if your personal information is used to create accounts or to sign up for services. Again, a fee may be charged. You also have the ability to use a credit freeze or security freeze to protect your account. A credit freeze typically prevents anyone from accessing your credit, such as wanting to open a new account until you authorize its release. Credit freezes and unfreezes are free from the 3 major credit reporting bureaus when requested. Another way to protect yourself is through fraud alerts. They're available from any of the 3 credit reporting bureaus. Temporary fraud alerts are free, and then they last up to 1 year. Also keep in mind when you're putting a credit or security freeze, and even if you wanted to apply, for example, a bank account, you would have to make sure that you call and get your reports unfrozen before you go make any transaction, or you're going to get denied. So just keep that in mind. It's also for bank accounts. So how the law protects you, the Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act of 1998. This act states that identity theft is a federal crime, and it can carry a punishment of up to 15 years imprisonment. And then in 1999, the Graham Beach-Aley Act requires financial institutions to protect your data and notify you of how they use your information. Steps to take after identity theft. So make sure you're collecting all the information and you're reviewing all your accounts. You're able to report to the FTC, fraud departments, and fill out a police report. And also reach out to have your credit and your credit repaired, and any damages that may happen. Make sure that you're getting and repairing that. It can take some time, but just make sure few good habits and strategies around managing your credit and debt can go a long way with helping keep your credit from being damaged when it comes to being a victim of identity theft. Which brings us to the end. So in today's workshop, we learned how to identify signs of identity theft and fraud, examine different types of identity theft and fraud, identified strategies to protect ourselves from theft and fraud, and then we learned different strategies to protect our data using safe habits. So the more difficult it is for identity thieves to access or use your data, the more protected you and others will be. Building healthy habits, making sure we're changing our passwords regularly, requesting and reviewing credit reports yearly, and ensuring any errors are corrected quickly are ways that we're going to be able to help protect ourselves. Over to you, Cassandra.
All righty then. Well, that was a very interesting presentation. I know I've had almost every last one of those scams to come across my phone, my email, some everything.
But I think a lot of people don't realize your medical information is also key, and that can be, like stolen from you, and you may be a victim to medical theft. And we don't realize that when we think of identity theft, we think of, someone taking our information, to hack into our accounts or steal our credit cards or to go open new accounts. But we don't really think of medical. So I thought that that's always interesting when I bring that up, is that can also be hurtful for you too.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that or don't
Yes.
realize that. And I had, I never thought about that until you said it. I was like, what? Medical?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had people to call me and then ask for my information. And I said, well, if you have an account with me, you should be able to tell me that. I'm not telling you
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah.
And then,
No, that's great.
and if they get upset, then I know it's a scam.
Yeah.
If they chuckle and say, okay, Miss Taylor, well, and then they'll tell me something that they already know, then I'm like, okay, then I don't mind responding to some things. But it is a lot. It is really a lot. I realize that when you get the scam calls, sometimes a new thing they have, they ask you your name and then you say yes, and then they hang up. They've recorded your voice, you
Your
saying
voice,
yes.
yes.
And so now they can scam you on that. And it's sickening when I think about it, because it is messing up a lot, because a lot of people can't go out. A lot of people, don't feel comfortable now in going out shopping. So they do the majority of their shopping online, and their accounts are being snatched. So, but
So
I
that's why
don't.
it's important to check and verify. And, if you're using your debit card, maybe have a separate account to just for your shopping, if you're online shopping, or just use a credit card. So that way it separates and it's not tied to your daily funds. But make sure that you're logging in and you're checking all your transactions.
Because I know BMO Harris will call you in a minute.
Yes.
Will shut you down in a minute. I'm gonna tell you this one little incident that happened. I went to Vegas, and not thinking, to call my banks and say, hey, I'm going out of town. Well, I went to Vegas this one night, and this one weekend, and I made my one withdrawal, not a problem, went and played, whatever. And then later on that evening, I had to make another withdrawal. Well, BMO Harris was like, you made one withdrawal, we let you go with that. Now you asking for another withdrawal, a little larger. They shut my card down.
Yeah, so
Then I received, and I was like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Then I got an alert on my phone for fraud. And I was like, huh? Call the number, and they was like, well, we're just making sure. And I was like, oh my goodness. And a lot of people get upset when they have to go through all of this extra protection stuff. But, I tell them, I said, they saving you. So I don't mind. I'm like, yeah, I know, yeah, that was me. So, but I think if I'm not mistaken, with BMO, you can go online in the mobile app. They have it where you can do
that you're going to be out of. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is, they're doing it's for your protection, especially if they see unusual activity, like you live in Illinois, your normal purchases are in Illinois, and then now you're in Vegas. And then, so a lot of financial institutions look at that, and they look at patterns. And again, it's for your protection. I know sometimes it could be bothersome, but in the end, it's to protect you, because it can be a hassle, if you're money, or money's taken from your account and you are a victim, there's steps that you have to do to get your money back.
Right. So I don't mind. I've sat in the bank, because I was trying to log in on my phone, and it kept kicking me out. Why? So I had to go into the bank, sit down with a banker, and I was trying not to be frustrated, but because I didn't realize what was going on and I had to be somewhere else in a few minutes, I was like, look, I know you got to do what you got to do, but I got to go, and they changed all of my stuff, my sign in, had me to change my password, the whole 9 yards. So I'm saying all of that to say, yes, it's frustrating. but at the end of the day, you will thank them later.
Because
You
it
know what I'm
protects you
saying?
from more damage in the future.
That part.
Yes.
Another thing that you had mentioned was people going through your garbage. And I think we all should invest in the shredder. But one thing that I found myself doing when I don't feel like shredding or cutting stuff up, I'll pour syrup or something in my garbage.
So that no one will pick through
So,
it.
yeah, throw food, something gooey, ooey, anything to get on top of it so that people will deter from going in it. And I had, I can't do it, but, the thought came across my mind when you were talking. I was like, oh, I have a dog. Maybe I should put the dog poop in there. When I put
Yeah.
something to keep them
That'll
getting.
stop them from dumpster
Yeah, stay out of this garbage. It smell like, crap.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't see any questions. Hold on, let me make sure.
Mhm.
Are there any questions online? There was no questions on the on our login. I mean on our Zoom. And so nope. Nobody have any questions. So that I'm gonna stop the Zoom, but I want to say thank you to my
Thank you.
my Facebook family and friends. Oh, and can you mention your
Yes.
workshop? Because this is being recorded going on YouTube.
Yes, so February 25th, we are looking to have a live in-person budgeting seminar. So if you're interested in finding ways to help you set a budget and how to budget, just reach out to Cassandra and she will provide you with the details. But February 25th at 1 p.m., join us for an in-person budget seminar.
And the location is to be determined.
The
More than
location
likely,
to more to come.
yeah, it'll be out in the Joliet, Plainfield kind of area, maybe, but we
Yes.
don't know just yet. But thank you. Signing off, Cassandra Taylor, Top Flight Defense Incorporated. Log in, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you didn't get all of this session today, hold on, wait a while. It'll be uploaded into our YouTube channel. Stay tuned. Next month, we're coming back again. What is your class for next month?
I believe it is on making budgets work also. I believe that's what it is.
Yep, and it works because it's in February, so making budget works. So we have that. We have Social Security Administration coming in. And ladies, our women's conference is coming up March 25th. More to come. So thank you for chiming in on Facebook. Thank you for our Zoom followers. We thank you and we appreciate you. See you next month.
Bye-bye.